I know.
It's lonely in this
I
studio.
know. I can hear you. Listen and you judge. You listen and you judge, girl. Okay.
Even the Bible says, "He who finds a good wife finds a good thing."
So
exactly. It's not she that finds.
It's not she.
So how did you prepare to be a wife?
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to How's Your Heart podcast. It is Linda for short. Thank you so much for joining me to yet another episode. Well, today I'm not alone. I'm with my lovely guest. Welcome, madam.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
So my name is Yvonne and I am here today with Linda, like she said. We've been talking about, having this podcast for a while.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah. And it's happening today. So yeah, I'm glad I'm here.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We met through a mutual friend of ours.
Yeah.
And we then fell in love with the camera.
Yeah.
And since then, we've just really enjoyed being behind the camera, in front of the camera.
Yeah, I mean, every time we meet is taking pictures.
You know what I said on my birthday? I was like, at least there's gonna be Yvonne, and then there's gonna be Matapela. So at least I'm gonna be sorted.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be sorted.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been such a lovely time getting to know you over the past 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah. And over that year, you've gotten married as well. So much growth. So you are on How's Your Heart? How's your heart?
My heart is pure.
Is pure. Okay, tell us more. Tell us more. How are you feeling right now? How you feel? Like, what's on your heart in terms of like just life in general? What are you feeling? What are you worried about? What are you happy about? What are you excited for? Generally, like, yeah, what's on your heart?
Okay, so cut.
Why? You didn't prepare for that. Exactly.
That's like a very deep question I need to think about.
That's the point of the podcast.
I would say, okay, maybe I'll put it this way. What I'm looking forward to, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my master's, as you know, right? So I'm looking forward to completing that.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking forward to a lot of change, actually.
Okay.
I'm married. I'm also looking forward to building a family, like having a baby and all that. So yeah, that's basically what's on my heart at the moment. Yeah.
A lot of change.
Yes.
They say one thing that's constant
is change. Yes.
So, well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Even though it took you,
it took me some time.
It took you some time to think about it.
Yes.
It does take you off guard a bit. I mean, part of the reason why we're here today is what's been laying on my heart. And it's something that's, like, it's not heavy on my heart, but it's definitely something that I think about a lot. And that is relationships and marriage.
Yes.
And since we're in the month of love, we will be talking about, you just said that you are married.
Yeah.
And I guess for me, talking about relationships, it's relationships over the last 30 years that have failed. Some relationships that were successful, but obviously didn't make it to the test of time. And being 30, thinking about marriage. So those are things that are in my heart. And I'm like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? What am I missing?
Yeah.
And what can I learn? And I love having conversations and learning. So yeah, that's what you might not be able to answer all my questions, but definitely I'd love to get your thoughts on, like, why did you get married? What influenced you to get into that decision? And what kind of environment that you grew up in that influenced you to make that decision? Because previously in one of the podcasts I shared that where I come from, well, South Africa's, yes, people do get married, but majority of people would rather have kids first before they get married. And I think the culture of marriage is really dwindling right now. even count like my friends that are married, but I can count more of my friends that have kids.
Oh wow.
And I didn't grow up with like seeing healthy marriages or like seeing marriages like at all. So yeah, like why?
Yeah, I think I saw that video. But to answer, before I answer your question, actually, I wanted to ask, did you, like, when you were growing up, think that, okay, by 28 or by 27, you'll be married?
Never.
You didn't?
Never. The idea of marriage came to me after 26.
Is it?
25, 26. And I was like, well, we'll get to that. Why I like why it came up at that time. But yeah.
Okay, so I guess mine is different. For me, growing up, right? I grew up with my mom and dad. They were together.
Yeah.
They're still together. So that's what I know. And my extended family, like my aunties, they're still together with the husband.
Yeah.
So growing up, I know that get married before you start a family. And I mean, I grew up in a Christian home. My father was a pastor, so to speak. So, you know,
my dad is a pastor as well.
Oh, is it? That's very interesting. So, yeah, my mom kept hounding up till this day. I'm scared of teenage pregnancy or getting pregnant without being married. I'm still scared. But she kept saying, if you don't know and you get pregnant and you bring it to this home, we will disown you. So I knew that, okay, I needed to get married. So in my head, I had everything planned. Get married by 22, 20 or 25.
Really?
Have your kids. By 35, you're done. I got married by 28, guys, but that's neither here nor there. My mom actually called me and was like, so
what's happening?
When are you getting? I was like 26. So what's happening? Do you have anyone in your life? Yeah. So what influenced I would say it's the people around me, basically. I think the other question was what you asked.
Just why did you decide to get married?
When you grow up, you need a partner in life, basically. Someone that you can go to, like your comfort place and stuff like that. So the reason for me was, you know, to have a partner. And also there is a fear of being alone. You see, it's with everyone. You can deny it as much as you want, but there is the fear of being alone. I would admit that I have that, but that still doesn't, because if you're too scared of being alone, you might end up with someone that is not good for you, right? So I'm also aware of that. So I don't allow that to like influence my decision, but I was mainly, you know, focused on, you know, having a partner in life, basically.
I think just to go back on your question about like when I started thinking about marriage, it's at that age, I think 25, I got saved, and then 26, I then started thinking about like what does my life look like? And I've always had my family, I was always in a relationship, and then I was in a period of just, I guess, getting to know myself. And then I realized that the one thing that I've been chasing is a career. And that's not necessarily for me gonna bring me fulfillment. And I want to share my life with someone. So I guess that's the reason why. I guess that's what I came to realize, that life is meant to be shared, and I would love to have a partner where I share my life with. And being lonely, it's lonely in the streets.
I know.
It's lonely in the streets.
I know, yo. And you think that, okay, I would have a best friend, but then that best friend would also get married. You know, they would have their person. And they're not going to be there with you all the time. You know?
You can rely on your friends so much. Loneliness is really, really one thing that I've also dealt with, that I ended up making some wrong decisions. Like, especially being in a foreign country. that plays in your mind so much.
Yeah.
Like, when is it gonna happen, and stuff like that. When am I even just gonna get into a relationship in general? And that brings me to my point about, you know, women feeling like they need to be chosen. I think definitely it's not something that I've been able to put words into, but I watched a video where this girl was going to a date, on a date, and this was sometime last year. And she was saying, you know, I've stopped feeling like men should choose me, and I'm going into this date with the mindset of what am I looking for in him, in a part, does he have the qualities of a partner that I want? And something just clicked in my head, like, oh, because I feel like whenever people get married, it's like, or they get engaged, like, hey, I'm chosen. And there's also a sense of rejection when a relationship doesn't work out, obviously, and now you're like, oh, they get married 6 months later, so I wasn't worthy to be chosen. Actually, Amanda and I don't know where she heard this quote, but she shared it with me. And we always say that you constantly desired but never loved all the way through. And sometimes it's just the reality that you're not chosen. But I want to talk about, like, you know, did you feel like you were chosen, or did you feel like you chose? And what were the things that you were looking for in your husband, or generally in a husband? What were the things that you were looking for?
Did I feel like I was chosen? I think that we are programmed to feel like that. You know, you have to actually be aware of it and then try to like fight it. But I would say yes, I'm not gonna lie, I did feel like I was like, that's, you definitely feel like that. And then what was I looking for in a man? The other question, a husband. So I mean, you start from boyfriend and then you go into a husband, right? So I'll start from there, I guess. So the regular cliche, someone who's taller than me, not someone who's tall, but someone who's taller than me.
I'm getting into 6 foot.
Not someone who is tall. Someone who is taller than me is fine. In the regular stuff, you know, good looking, all that. And then when it comes to personality, I was looking for someone who is God-fearing, someone who is easy to read, because some guys are very secretive and you don't really know what they are thinking and what they are doing or what the next steps are. And someone who can communicate, you know, they're not afraid to communicate. And someone who also thinks like me, basically. So that's what I was looking for in a husband. And I guess I found him. And I think for you to choose, for you to be the chooser, you have to have multiple, you know, options to choose from, right? And for women, that's not us. Like, we are not programmed to date more. I mean, people are doing it, but that's not like the society expectation. Society don't expect you to have multiple guys that you are dating and you decide to choose from when you're ready to get married. So that's a guy thing, I guess. So I guess that sums it up for me.
But this idea of being chosen, is it something that we should have, or like, how do we get rid of that kind of wanting to be chosen? Because even the Bible says, he who finds a good wife finds a good thing. So exactly. It's not she that finds.
It's not she, it's a he. I actually don't know how you can, but I know people who are also dating. I think it's an understanding thing. So when you're dating someone, you have to tell them that, okay, I want to date multiple people, you know, and it's not every guy that would actually agree with you. But people are doing it, but I don't know how they are doing it, but people are doing it. I don't think I have the heart or the time or the energy to do it.
The energy.
Yeah, but people are doing it. So it is possible. I just don't know how.
And then, so you saying you looked for someone who 6
I
yeah,
didn't
you
say
did say 6 feet.
6
Someone who's taller than you,
Yeah.
someone who has, like, you understand each other. So how did you prepare to be a wife?
That
Yeah.
question. So,
Or yeah, because you obviously you grew up in this environment where people are married and that's something that you desire and you are living now. But when you thought about, okay, because I sometimes think people think I want to be married, but they don't know the kind of the wife that needs to be in that marriage.
yeah.
So how did you prepare to be a wife?
Yeah. Preparing to be a wife, you're making it sound like, you have to go to the mountains and, prepare yourself, But how I prepared to be a wife. So, like, what you see as, or what you grow up with as your mom, how they are, doing their wife duties, your aunties, the people around you. So, and society, what you see on social media and stuff like that.
Oh, what you see on social media.
Exactly. Social media is changing a lot. Like, as a wife, this is what. So I see all that, of course. I didn't really prepare, so to speak. When I knew I was getting married, I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. Even though we've dated for a while, but when you have the title as wife,
Yeah.
things change. So I was scared of the change, but I didn't really, prepare. I just know what was expected of me as a wife, and I, looked inwards to see if I was really ready for that. And I realized that, yeah, I was. So
what
I
were
was like,
those
yeah.
expectations when you thought of them?
So, for example, cooking for your husband, cleaning, all those things. I know I'm not the only one that's going to cook. But, are you ready? Your husband is like, I won't say your baby, but they're like that. They're like babies. So it's like you're taking care of them, and also you have to balance it with your career. Was I ready for that? And, I realized that I was, and he's not helpless.
Talking about career, because I think, as I said, up until like 26, 27, I always focused on my career. And I was like, I've never dreamt of being married before. When I was growing up, I never dreamt to be married. And now you have this career, as you were saying. Now you have to balance being a wife and having a career. Like, what's that balance? Because like, this focus on your career, it's also very much on social media. Get your bag, get yours, and all of that, and then you have everything and you're like, who am I going to enjoy it with? I guess for me, how did you balance the mindset of focusing on your career, but also understanding that relationships are also as important, because this is where I want to get to at the end?
So, I would say this. First of all, you need a supportive husband or a supportive partner, basically. So, I mean, you've been in the work that I do before. We work late in the office, late hours, and all that. You need someone who is understanding. So if I am working really late, right, I can't cook and do all the things that you want me to do, will the partner understand you, right? And we had that conversation. And I mean, we dated for a while, and I realized that he was okay with it. If I am working late, I'm staying late at work, he'll be able to cook something for the both of us. He'll be able to heat some. Do you get it? Or he'll be able to order food, right? So I would say the fact that I realized that he was supportive actually was like helped me, okay, say that, okay, I'll be able to balance the two. Yeah.
I mean, going back to what we want to say, like, things change.
Yeah.
Because you're in a relationship, then you are in marriage. How did things change? Because a lot of people say things shouldn't change when you get married, and you, or as a person, you shouldn't change when you get married. Or other people say you have to change, you're forced to change. How did things change?
I would say this. Things change in marriage when situations change, right? So for me, we no situation. So for example, if let's say someone loses their job, or someone is not how do I even put this? They're having some difficulty with money, right? Situation have changed, so like things will change or people will change. But then it also comes with time.
Yeah.
Right now, I've only been married for like 2 years, I would say. It hasn't. I mean, we are still in the honeymoon phase, I guess.
So hey, come on. Yeah.
Reality hasn't really set in yet, right? So when you start facing challenges and all those things, that is when things really change. And my dad always say, you never really know someone until something happens, and then you would know that okay, this is what this person is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's sidetrack a bit. Yvonne has a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Let's plug you on that. You talked about wedding preps and you talked about wedding preps, the stress on the day, and girl, why did you have 2 weddings on the same day?
I can hear you. Listen and you judge. You listen and you judge, girl. Okay. So
because when I was hearing you say that, I'm like, what?
Why? Just why?
Yeah.
So what happened was, we usually, when you get married in a church, right? They bring the courts bring the certificates for you to sign.
Yeah.
But then this was the case where we were not getting married in a church. We were getting married in a garden. So they said they were not gonna come there with the certificates, right? Even though there was a pastor that was going to, come there. So we had to go to the court to go sign, right? That wasn't a stress for me because I didn't have to plan anything. We just had to go to, I just needed a dress. We went to the court, we signed, and then we all went home. Then for the Ghanaian culture, I think you've had a video about weddings and Ghanaian culture and stuff.
Yeah.
You have to do traditional wedding. Traditional wedding is considered as wedding, right? But I wanted a white wedding. Of course. So, and the traditional wedding is basically you and family. Some people invite friends, right? But it solely depends on you, especially if you're going to have a white wedding as well, because most people do traditional and white wedding. So for the traditional wedding, it was just my family, and then it was like 100, not 100, it was like 25 people. And then for the white wedding, it was friends and family, and then friends of my family, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's why we had 3 different weddings. It would have been 2, but yeah, it made it 3. Yeah. And then for the stress, it was very stressful because I had to balance. 1, I had to balance it with work. 2, the wedding was happening in Ghana and I was in the UK. And 3, I didn't want to hire a wedding planner.
Salah, the story about your maid of honor forgetting a bouquet. So what are we single people need to think about when we're planning for a wedding? What do we need to think about?
So first things, I'll say start the planning early, probably
have someone that is helping you.
Exactly. Have someone that is helping you. Don't do it alone. Have someone that is helping you. And then you also have to consider making a list, okay? And then maybe ask someone who has already, done their wedding, or they planned their wedding or whatever. And then try to see if you have a complete list. Because when it was very close to the wedding, my auntie asked me, do you have a car that's going to take you to... We didn't have a car. So she had to, quickly...
Think about that.
We didn't think about that. Like, you'll miss some things, especially if you are the only one doing it. So yeah, try asking around, and also try comparing prices, because the wedding vendors, they will scam you, okay? So make sure you have a list of vendors that you will ask, and then get prices and compare. and then choose the one that you think is good for you, and then go with that. Yeah.
And probably not have the weddings on the same day.
Yes, and don't have your wedding on the same day. But I mean, it's up to you. So the traditional and the white wedding was on the same day, so everything felt rushed. But yeah.
But all we care about is the pictures came out great.
Yes, the pictures were fabulous.
Everything you're saying is like the pictures.
The pictures were so nice, yeah.
Oh well, yeah. As we come to the end of this conversation, I felt that time went so quickly.
It did. Oh
wow. Yeah. What are your reflections since you've said you've been now married for 2 years? What are the good things we should look forward to? What does marriage bring to a person, to a woman? And yeah, what are the good things as you reflect on marriage for your first? I mean, people say that the first year is the most difficult year.
Yeah, is it?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Actually, it's true.
Is it?
No, not for me, but I've heard that story before. But I think it happens when you've never stayed with the person before. You know, some people start dating 6 months and then they get married, or a year and then they get married.
Hallelujah.
I dated for I dated my husband for like 6 years before we got married. So I don't know everything about him, but I knew what to expect, right? So I know someone, you know, especially some people will be very upset over toothbrush or toothpaste or some petty things. I'm not like that, and I understand. I get what you mean. The first year wasn't. It was okay, like I said. But I've also seen that marriage, you know, 2 heads are always better than one. You get to build together. Yeah. You know, you get to in financial. I will use this as an example. Before I got married, I was staying in my apartment alone, paying my rent by myself. Now I'm married.
Rent and rent.
Now I'm married. The rent is taken care of. We are sharing, you know, the rent, and you know, I'm getting some money in my pocket. So financially, it's helped.
Oh,
I would say.
London bills. Oh my gosh.
So financially, it helps. And then also, you get the supports, you know, emotional supports that you need, you know, and intellectual. It depends on who you marry. You know, sometimes you want to make some decision, you run it by the person, and they would be able to give you some insights and some advice. And so yeah, I might have missed 1 or 2 things, but and also you can build together, you know. Yeah, but essentially, so far, I would say these are some of the things that when you get married, you'll be able to get some help.
I look forward to the financial part.
I know the financial part is very important. Very, very important. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. What are the maybe one lesson that you've learned about marriage? Because at the start we talked about preparing for marriage and, you know, choosing your partner for certain qualities, but as you are in the relationship, in the marriage, what are the things that maybe you didn't expect and now you've had to adapt? Or what are the things that you're like, nah, I'm ready as a wife. I've you know, I'm trained for this, I'm ready. And you're like, nah, that's not how I should show up as a wife, you know? Because I think, as you said, like certain situations, they challenge us. They challenge us to be a different person. I mean, not entirely like act out of yourself, but like show up differently in that situation. So yeah, what are the things that you're growing in and you feel like you've learned in the past 2 years being in marriage?
That question is deep. What have I learned? Oh my god. I would have to think about it for a bit. So
don't think about it too much now.
I don't want to say something like, you know, there's a cliche that some people say, well, marriage is not always rosy, and those things. I don't want to say the same thing.
No, but in this, I guess it's not only like in the negative light. It's like, like whenever you go through something, you expect it. There's a certain level of expectation, and then you get into it. You're like, oh, oh man, okay, this is. I need to be kind of different. Like it's like moving here. It's like you have all these expectations about being in London, and then you realize, oh, sometimes I have to wait for the train for 10 minutes.
Sometimes you have to run for the bus.
Exactly. So it's not always like, oh, transport is efficient. So it's something like that. Like,
Okay. So what I've learned, so far is that you need to be considerate. Okay, you think you might know the person, but you don't really know them, especially if you've not stayed with them for a long time before. So you need to be considerate. There are some things that when you see, you don't really say. You try to, not nag all the time, right? If not, you'll be a nagging wife. So you need to be considerate, and that's going to help you a lot in marriage. If you're not a considerate person, please start learning that. Yeah. Because sometimes someone will eat and then they will put the plates there and not clean it. If you are someone that wants your plate cleaned right after eating, you would have an issue, right? And then the toothpaste thing, and then so you need to just close your eyes sometimes. You've not seen it.
Oh damn.
Yeah. And it will avoid some fights and some unnecessary arguments.
Well, yeah, thank you. I guess
wait, one more thing.
One more thing.
Yes. I think another thing that I've learned is that when there is conflict, right, and you are going to argue, just know that. So for me, like this, I don't know how to like argue with you like word for word, right? So what we do is when there is conflict or when we realize that okay, we are upset about something, we text. When you text about it, you actually think of what to say before you say it. When you are talking, you don't. You might say something that you will regret. But when you are texting, you might say something that you regret in the text, but it will be less. Yeah, it will be less. You see. So yeah. That is also something I've learned.
Yeah. I love that you found something that works for you, because I do not like texting. I despise texting.
So you rather call
me. But I do get that point that when you're trying to communicate something, because you don't always have, maybe like, because you have to go to work, you're studying, you don't have time, you won't always have time to just sit, let's talk about this. So maybe while you're on the train, you think about it and you text, and it's a good tool to use to communicate.
Communication.
I think that's beautiful. No, thank you for sharing your lessons. I guess from this conversation, it's not that you now have wealth of experience, and now what you say is gospel truth. It's like sharing how to grow in life and how to grow as people, and what you've learned in the time that you've been married. And we don't have a lot of people that are married that we can talk to and find out some things. So I really enjoyed this conversation. I really enjoyed having you here. And I hope you guys enjoyed having Yvonne on here. If you want to check her out on Yvonne Onscreen.
Yes.
Anything else that you want to say? Closing comments, thoughts?
My closing comment is don't forget to like this video. And don't forget to subscribe and share if you care. Yes, that's what I want to.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next one.